Most loving pranams at the most loving divine lotus feet of my Lord Sai. This is a beautiful forum where we express ourselves as well as Swami expresses through us, and we see our own reflections when we talk. When we hear ourselves, actually, we witness that moment when we are talking and what is coming out and what are we saying. So I think it's a beautiful experience that way also. And all those people that I can see here right now, my dear other soul family members, just to give a short, beginning of how I got into Sai's fold is that I was born into a Sai family. I was born in Rishikesh, and my parents had got to know about Baba, but before that they were living in Nagpur, so they did know about Shirdi Sai. But in Rishikesh, they got to know about Satya Sai Baba through, there was a Mataji who used to conduct bhajans. So I remember very faintly, I remember having that bhajan in the house. So my parents were quite active in that in Rishikesh. And I do remember the earliest memory that I have in my experience was, I think I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and I had fever that night. And I asked my mother, what do we do? So she said, that's okay. If you take his name or you sing a bhajan, you will be fine. I said, okay. So since she'd already said that, and I said, okay. So I started singing a bhajan, and probably I just knew one line or two, and I don't even know if I knew the bhajan right. And whatever I remember of that whole night, I kept singing. And the wordings of the bhajan went like this. I would like to sing that. Krishna ghana ghana neela hai, Krishna gokul bala, Krishna ghana ghana neela hai, Krishna gokul bala, Hare Hare Madhava Hare Keshava Lola, Hare Hare Madhava Hare Keshava Lola. So this might not be the right tune or the right bhajan, but this is what I sang. And for sure, my fever was gone. Next morning, I was perfectly fine. And that's when I realized that the power of Nam Smarana. So even as a child, I realized if you are not well or if you need any help, you think of God and you take his name, and you would, get your solution, or you will be all right. So that was my first experience that I had. After that, we shifted to Delhi, and I started going to Balvikas, which was my favorite because I used to go to Dr. Hemraj's place, and Chintan Didi, his daughter, was my Balvikas guru. Before her, of course, there was Mrs. Shastri auntie, and since they were tenants and they left, after that Chintan Didi took over. And I would enjoy the Balvikas, mainly because we would get Amar Chitra Kathas, at the end of the Balvikas, and we would get candies. So we would love that, reading those books. And of course, we were learning all the good things, and we would enjoy. So I think in 1984, maybe, or a little earlier, we happened to have gone to Puttaparthi. So I went as a Balvikas child, and I'd gone with my guru, Chintan Didi. And it was a beautiful experience again. And another thing which I noticed over there, which again I noticed, as I'm saying, I'm also a witness to what is being said and what is being spoken, or what was happening in my life. I remember everybody was rushing. We were small children. Everybody was rushing for Swami's darshans. And then there was this young girl who was my age, maybe about 11-year-old, 12-year-old. So she had fever. And the gurus and the others were just looking at each other, who'll stay back with her in the shed, because we had to go for darshans. So I said, okay, I will stay. I have no issues. I would love to stay. So I stayed back. They all went for the darshans. And of course, they were happy that they could go for the darshans, and somebody was there to look after her or be with her. And I remember I was doing, the wet pattis on her forehead. And I just enjoyed. I think I enjoyed it more than going for the darshans also, because I knew I was doing something really good. And I did not know what I was doing, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. Uh, so I think now when I look back, I realize maybe those seeds of Seva Bhav were being put at that time. You know. And much later after that, I think the next time I went to Puttaparthi was, I think, in my college. I had some internship in Bangalore in 1990, probably. And I was so close to Puttaparthi, so I thought this time I'll go on my own. So I was, as a grown-up, going on my own for the first time. I reached Puttaparthi and I realized that we cannot stay alone, because being a single girl. So I thankfully, coincidentally, but of course it was Swami's plan, perfectly according to Swami's plan, that I met again Dr. Hemraj uncle there, and he said, okay, let me just put you on to this lady and you can stay with us. So he put me on to Anna-Marine auntie. She was a German lady who's of course not there anymore right now. She's just recently crossed over. So I stayed with her and we had some beautiful time together, talking about Swami, laughing, enjoying. And I remember in the Guru Purnima, that was a Guru Purnima time, we were standing in front of the Purna Chandra hall and it was crowded. It was very, very crowded. And I was just looking and I really wanted, to do something. And so I started helping, at the gate, in helping the Seva Dal members in managing the crowd, because it was very crowded and people are pushing. So I just stood there and I was helping. And I knew that, of course, I'm not supposed to be there, because neither I was a volunteer nor I was, the invited guests. So I was standing outside and I was just giving a hand to the people. And of course, I have this thing of getting into things and organizing. So I was helping them. And suddenly, somebody said that, okay, it's Swami's time to come, Swami. So somebody pushed me and I was right in there at the corner of the podium, of the stadium. And I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. I was feeling very, very awkward because I was not supposed to be, but the Sevadal was saying, no, that's okay. Just come in, and be here. So they made me stand at the corner of the podium. And as Swami walked, he came right to that corner of the podium, gave the darshans right across, and then he left. And again, I realized it is when you help others, or it is when you put others in front of you and you don't expect anything in return, that's when, you get rewarded. That's when God is happy with you, or he has his ways of, blessing you, or whatever makes you happy at that time. So he gave the darshans at that right up close. We walked in right to that edge of that podium, that stadium. So again, that fact got reiterated in me. So that trip was beautiful, because I would stand outside the wall, and inside was all sand, and I would stand outside and would cry and long for Swami. It was a beautiful time. I think that was a time, and physically I could feel, there was some kind of I would say it felt like something breaking in between. Probably it was my heart chakra opening up. I don't know what. Physically, I could feel that, crushing sound. And I was longing and crying. And I was like, wanting to do, I was feeling so much of love, which was probably coming from Swami, going to Swami. I couldn't feel what was happening, whether it was going out, coming in. I have no idea, but it was too much of love and totally overwhelmed. And I was like, how do I share this love with all? How do I channelize it? I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking how to love everybody, how to channelize this love, because it was too much for me to, hold or feel, or maybe I wanted to share. I don't know what it was. So that was another instant that I remember with Swami. After that, I think once I graduated, we went to Puttaparthi, and that's where, as Chetna mentioned, that we met up in the train. And I think it was one meet. We just met up and we all fitted in absolutely like a jigsaw puzzle. It was like just hand in glove. We all were just perfectly aligned with each other, which must be through some past karmas and his blessings, because it's so beautifully she put that, we see our reflection in each other and we just complete ourselves and we see his love, It's just like Krishna and all the gopikas. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's a very humbling feeling to feel that feeling, And I think that seva was again beautiful. And we all had this, naturally we had this thing, even I had this feeling, we all had that we were like stepneys, you just put us anywhere. We did not have any will or want or desire to be right at the darshan ground and see him while doing the duties. We were like, put us in any godforsaken place. It doesn't matter. We wanted to serve. All we wanted was to do seva. And of course, we got a chance to go to the hospital and do the seva. So first time when I did seva, I was in the kitchen of the attendants. So I used to make sure, like a head mistress, that nobody wastes food. Of course, they were all villagers and they would come there, and the food, I would serve food and I would give little to smaller kids. I was like, nobody is going to waste any food. You're not going to eat. So I think that was another beautiful experience. And Chawla auntie was there with me, and we would just do dishes, sing bhajans, and keep doing dishes. We thoroughly enjoyed the seva. And I think those are beautiful golden days, And since then we got married, and of course, getting into the family life, couldn't get much chance to go for seva. Once or twice I went again, and I went for this Guru, Balvika's Guru thing also, which happened in Whitefield, where we had taken that beauty parlor, which I think we've mentioned so many times, where I think it was another beautiful thing. We sat with Ashok Mehta uncle and Kamlesh Mehta auntie, and we just, organized that whole thing. We conceptualized it, and we made that Delhi. The Swami said, "Oh, beauty parlor from Delhi." So anyway, I think they all enjoyed it, because it was a beautiful thing we had said, where we had, used all the beauty products, and we said, using the, let's say, lipstick of Nam Smarna, or the kajal of, adorning the eyes with, not having that discretion and seeing that love, Swami's love. And I forget, most of them were beautiful things we had derived at. So life had been very beautiful because of all this, all this we have got from Sai's fold and his blessings. For a certain period of time, yes, before the wedding, I was also a part of Balvikas for physically, mentally handicapped children. And we had taken those children to Swami, and that was another beautiful trip to enjoy, where we were called in the temple. We all sat there and we got beautiful Padnamaskars and darshan. So I may not remember things in detail, but all I remember is it was great blessing and great time we had. And he was very happy. He would give that, and he was always happy with people who do that, I guess. And coming to, if I say coming to the latest after that, many times I feel, what do darshans mean, or what do miracles mean? So many times I debated. I looked at people, saw me creating things, doing miracles. But then I thought, what is more important is, to feel him and not to expect anything. So if I were to expect him to give me something or do something, I'd rather not. I'd rather stay away, but feel him inside me. So even if it meant that sitting in Delhi, if I can think of him and feel him more than at Puttaparthi and in the physical proximity, I might as well be in Delhi, because what was more important was to feel him, to miss him, and to long for him, So I think for a long time, yes, I couldn't go because of work and family. And I reconnected with my Shirdi sign. So I am more of a Shirdi sign also, believe in Shirdi sign. So then I started doing my aartis, Shirdi Sai Aarti. And I went to Shirdi. It was again a beautiful trip we had. We went and saw everything. So later I dreamt of Baba, Shirdi Baba, where I could actually see what he looked like. I was like very, very excited to see. In one of my dreams, I saw, because Satya Sai Baba we saw, but Shirdi Baba we hadn't. So I was wondering, what would he be like? What would he be like? So in the dream, I noticed that I was probably on the balcony, maybe it was like a Shirdi Mandir, the present Shirdi Mandir, Dwarka Mai. Sorry, not the Dwarka Mai, the main Shirdi Mandir. So I was on the balcony and I could see Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba, walking down with my sister. And then I go down and I join him, and I suddenly notice he's so tall. He was huge. He was very tall, and he was talking about something. He was explaining something. So that was the first time I noticed, his physical appearance. And next time that I dreamt of him was, I think I was in Family Way, and this was my third kid that I was expecting, and I dreamt of him that he was standing and he was wearing a kafni and his feet were naked, and I was lying dandavat on his feet. And I was telling him, no, so he was telling me, see, you wanted a kid and I'm giving you, नहीं तुम्हें बेटा चाहिए था और मैं तुम्हें बेटा देता हूँ. So I said कि no Baba, I don't, I want you, I don't want anything else. He said no, चल मैंने तुझे बेटा दिया. So that was one thing. I was like, oh my God, I could feel his sternness, but his love in that sternness, it felt so beautiful, even though he was blessing me with all that. And I was like, no, I don't want, I want you, But I think that was beautiful. Now, all of us always remember that. That was my personal experience where I could see him standing tall and he's, firm, and he's saying, ja maine tujhe beta diya. So I think that was another experience where I could physically feel what Baba must have looked like and Baba was like and how he spoke, And coming to latest, I would say to be able to feel them, think of them itself is a big grace, through whatever we are going, through whatever it is. It's his grace. So of course, we need to pray to him only for this, that your grace should be there, that whatsoever is happening in our life, which will keep happening because it's a part of the drama, that we are playing, the role play that we are doing in this life. But we should be in connect with him. We should be totally, constantly, what we say, constant integrated awareness. We should be having him in our back burners. He should be there. God should be, Sai should be there in our awareness every time, all the time, which we have to try. So one of the latest things that I can think of is another Sai sister, Shruti. Her son met up with an accident. So this was another dream I had. The day he met up with an accident, that night, I got this dream where, I was feeding a small child. I don't know if it was my child, my son, or it was somebody else. It was another son, a child. Maybe it's about 5-6 years old. And I was feeding him. And then I see somebody, a sadhu or somebody standing at the foot of the bed. And he's saying that, did you see any snake? There's a snake around, So I was like, no, I don't know. And suddenly when I see him, that snake, there's a huge snake which twirls around his legs, and he just, gets wounded up around the sadhu. And at the same time, I noticed that that child suddenly had a thermometer in his mouth and he has bitten it. So I also get into panic that because there was a mercury there. So there was a big danger, So the moment I noticed that, I start cleaning up his mouth because the thermometer had broken. So I was taking out the pieces and I was cleaning up his mouth. And suddenly I noticed that this sadhu or the rishi, he quietly walks out of the room and he's talking very softly to the snake, or he's taming the snake. And I noticed that suddenly that whole situation had come. But it is probably getting in control. And here I noticed that the child is also okay. And I could clean up everything. I could retract everything, and he's fine. So I think the message that I got was that there was a big, danger that had come, but it just got dissipated. And when I woke up, that's when I noticed that Shruti's son, Raghav, who met with an accident, it was a hit and run accident. and we were praying for him, and when I shared that with them, so we realized that it was a blessing that Swami saved him, because it was a big savior for him. It was a huge accident that he went through, but the kind of casualty which came onto him was very minuscule compared to the kind of fall he had, and so that I saw in the dream, and we thanked God for the blessing and for him to protect Raghav and to save him. And maybe one more experience I can share which is very latest. We had just gone to Rishikesh. We had a beautiful snan at Devprayag, and we further went to the Uttarakhand hills, where there was this mandir. There was this Mata's mandir. It's called Badan Gadi. It was a huge hill, and there was a trek to that hill, and the mandir was right on top. So they were close to about 700 steps, but very uneven. Some were broad, some were narrow. So I'd gone with my husband, but he had a little knee issue. So he said, I can climb up, but getting down would be a problem, because if he has to we are looking into a surgery for him. So he said, it'll just flare up. So maybe I should refrain. I said, yeah, I think you refrain. And I had a very strong calling. So I said, I'm going to go ahead. So I started climbing up. So I had this bag on my chest in front, because obviously when you're climbing up, you would rather bend forward, because that's an easier posture to go. So you have your weight in front, and it helps you climb up. But of course, the climb was very steep and very tedious. So of course, after every 10, 15 steps, I was going breathless, and I had to stop, and it was hot. Even though those 3 days that we were there were meant to be cloudy and raining according to the Google. But those 3 days were bright, sunny till the time we were there. And when we stepped out, it started raining. Anyway. So coming back to the thing, when I was climbing up the thing, I realized that I was alone in the jungle. It was totally alone, because it was not just like steps under the mandir there, but it was a jungle, and, we had to climb, and at times it was going down, at times going up. So it was through that jungle and forest, that the way was, the steps were, uneven steps were placed. So I must have gone about 100 odd steps, when I suddenly saw about 20 steps ahead, I saw a beautiful orange monkey. So the first thing I noticed was it was big. Second thing I noticed was that it was very beautiful. The face was the countenance was very soft and very, very beautiful. Bahut sundar tha wo. And thirdly, I noticed that his fur was like candy floss. So I think the orange was almost like this color of orange. It was a soft pastel orange, not that bright one. So the fur was candy floss, and he looked beautiful and divine. But at that time, I suddenly got scared. I was like, oh, I'm carrying the prasad for Ma. I was carrying bananas, and I was carrying coconut, and I was all alone in the jungle. So I started thinking that, oh, what if he comes and snatches that? What'll I do? What'll I do? So with my limited brains at that time, and that disillusion getting, जो कहते हैं भ्रमित हो जाते हैं आप जब सामने आते भी हैं, भगवान आते हैं, दर्शन देते हैं, because at that time, I got scared. I did not know what to do. I started looking back. I started acting as if, there are a lot of people coming with me. And I'm like, oh, come up. Jaldi aa jao, But of course, he was sitting there, and he was looking at me. And he must be thinking, oh my God, what happens to this girl? How to solve the problem of Upasana. So I was like trying, I didn't know what to do. And yet I couldn't stop myself. I said, I have to climb up, because it was, the way was huge. So at that time, I was just looking at them. I tried climbing 2-3 steps more, and I didn't look at him and have the eye contact. But after a while, he climbed down halfway, and then he went away. Then I thought, okay, I will ask, when I go down, I will ask the shopkeeper if there's any orange monkey around in this area, So I finished my thing. It was a beautiful journey to that steep hill, almost 750 steps. And I had darshans of Ma, which I was very, very keen on, of having those darshans. So it was the divine darshans that she gave. And finally, when I came down and I told my husband about it, that's when he said, maybe you got darshans from Hanuman. And that's when it just cleared up for me. And I realized, oh my God, if he was the Hanuman, I could have offered the bananas to him only. But at that time, you don't think, because they just kind of numb you. But later realized how beautiful and how lucky it was to have his darshans. It was a beautiful orange monkey. And I can't imagine seeing orange monkeys in India. While the rest of the monkeys we've seen are brown and they have, long, the fur is those long hair you can see over there. So when I realized that, I was so touched and I was so thankful, that Lord Hanuman came and blessed. And I think at that time I was actually doing my Hanuman Chalisa when I was climbing up. But when I got scared, I just forgot everything, what was happening. But then I closed my eyes and I thanked him. I thanked him profusely, for giving me the darshans and, for the love and the blessings he bestowed. So I think that was beautiful that I could get his darshans. Sakshat Hanumanji's darshan in that jungle. So likewise, I think I would say many times God gives us the darshans. We don't even realize at that time. So, okay, here I realize by the end of it, but many times we don't, when we get saved by some calamity or something happens, at that time we don't realize, but later when you look back, or many times we even wouldn't know. But the fact is that he's always there protecting us. His blessing being with us, or our life itself, is his miracle. I don't know how to conclude this because this is an ongoing journey. Whether to see him in a Sukshma Sharir or whether to just feel him in any form, be it any form, a goddess or a Hanuman or Shirdi Sai or Satya Sai or anybody. I think it's just, for me, it's just pure love, and to feel that love even in seeing a small flower or a kid or anything is him, is actually that divine power. So I'm very, very thankful that I got his darshans, or I can feel him, because it's his grace that we can feel him, I'm saying him because I would say he's the only Purush and rest of us are the Prakriti. Rest of us are just a part of, the Prakriti to complete him, which he has made. So it is only his Anukampa, only his grace, and we are thankful. I am very, very thankful and humbled that he's given that blessing on us, that grace on us and on me. So I think I would finish here, and I would love for everybody to, feel this, go through this, and his grace be on all of us, even people who are not able to, or in a situation like that, may they clear out from that situation and reach the point where they could actually enjoy this elixir, this beautiful ananda of feeling that love, that divine love, and that divine power in us and in everywhere. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.